And welcome back to Waaaghtaktiks. Today we're here to talk about the top 3 gets that I think you're using suboptimally, if not outright wrong. So, like always, this is live, so get it there in the comments. Let me know what you think. Rewatch gang, let me know what you think as well. If you want more like these, like and subscribe. And like always, give a shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our Waaaghtaktiks dice. So shout them out. Check them out in description. 5% off in the discount because nobody likes tactics. Taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. And let's get back stuck in, lads. So talking about these units, these are 3 units I think you're going to use properly. So for the most part, I think these lists are very often brought on lists and used suboptimally. A lot of the time, beginner players just do them what they first stage do and don't use them more in depth. So today we're going to talk about more in-depth ways you can use these 3 units, and I'm going to actually give examples of how you guys are going to actually move them around the field with pictures and little descriptions and stuff. So if you like that, let me know and leave a like. Let's get into it. So tips and tricks, starting off with the Grats, as I think Grats are almost always one of the most valuable unit in an orc army. If you're a new player, I'm automatically going to recommend I need you to own 20 to 30 of these, right? And simply one just isn't good enough in my opinion. You're really going to enjoy having 2 to 3 boxes of these guys. And whether it's because you're going to make a big unit after watching this video or because you're going to have 2 units just for a bunch of different purposes. They're long-term investment. Think about them like that. Think about, you want to buy a cool unit of boys. Yeah, I get it. But if you buy 2 units of Grats, it's a long-term investment for your WAAAGH in the future, as they're always very useful throughout multiple editions. Next is taking saves on the herder. So a lot of people get this wrong and don't understand this as begin players, right? So the runt herder is not a leader character, right? He is not a leader model. The Grats are not his bodyguards. Therefore, he can choose to take the wounds on himself first. He is more like a sergeant within the unit, right? Equivalent to a Space Marine sergeant. Therefore, you can decide to take the saves on the runt herder. If you pay attention to the runt herder's data sheet, you can clearly see that he has a 5-up armor save, unlike the Grat's 7-up armor save. And he has 2 wounds base into his data sheet because the runt herder is essentially just a knob. That's why he has higher strength value than a regular boy as well. Now that you understand that, you can perceive how this should work. When you are taking, let's say, indirect fire, let's say you're taking a unit of Stormbolters, some Space Marines are shooting at your Grats, and you want to actually retain the bodies because you're maybe using them as a screen. You want more bodies to stay alive instead of you just surviving because you're not really worried about them surviving battle shock. Maybe they just need to be in the way longer. In this case, you might, or you have 2 runt herders in your unit, for example, you could decide I'm going to be in cover with one of my runt herders. He's going to be while the other runt herders may be more close to the front of the unit. And I'm going to take multiple 4-ups because he has 2 wounds on him. So I would slow roll those. I'd go 2 dice, boom, roll those out. So I always advise that people do the math in their head, ask the enemy what guns they have, what exact profiles they're using into them, because taking saves on the runt herder can save you multiple Grats, anywhere from 2 to 7 Grats when you're getting shot at by units. It's very off-putting and messes up people's math all the time. It's still valuable in the wall, but especially on those not-wall turns when you're getting shot with no AP weapons, I do recommend you taking saves on the runt herder. Next, taking a single unit of 22 Grats for your home field. This is a tip/trick. This is something that's a bit newer. For the most part, people are going to take one 11-man unit of Grat for their home field objective. A lot of this game, people are having 3-inch deep strike. Now we have the Quillons coming in from the Imperial Guard. We have straight up other armies that can do it regularly. Also, we have easy fixed secondaries that people would like to do. We have the card for Call the Horde that can now actually be redrawn if you don't have it. That's why you can actually choose to bring a 22-man size unit to your list. That way, if the enemy draws Call the Horde and you have that 22-man unit in your backfield screening your back home field, not only are you giving a nice thick body of mass OC that no regular unit can drop down and kill in one shot, but you also have now denied Call the Horde because you can simply keep that unit safe, meaning the enemy cannot redraw that, making them scoff one of their secondaries for that turn. It ends up doing dual purposes, right? So you see a lot of people dropping deep strikes. If you're having a hard time with people clearing just 10 basic Grats, you're not sure what to do, you might want to drop to a 22 size unit. Of course, there's other things you might want to evolve on your list, so you can like I always call QRF this to back these units up if they are actually killing 22 Grats eventually, but it can hold off for that alpha strike and it can deny call the horde. So 22 man size Grat unit might be a basic trick for your home field objective. Up to you if you're in that sort of meta. Next, we have reserves or within trucks. A lot of the time, people will bring multiple Grat units and sometimes not know what to do with that second Grat unit. For example, you can put it into reserves. A lot of the new secondaries actually want you to come in or at least be near battlefield edge. It is hard to get a full unit of Grats into a corner of a battlefield, so some of these secondaries are easier to get than others, but it allows this unit to be safe, move up the field, and if an enemy doesn't respect them, they can easily get someone to the backfield and start scoring or possibly steal an objective. As well as they go good in transports. If something killy gets out of a transport, go ahead and put some Grats in there, run that truck around with Grats. If they pop your truck, now your Grats get out. Late game, that could end up scoring you more primary in the end, or like I said, secondaries. So preserving those Grats, even a couple dudes alive, can end up saving you points in the long run. That's why throwing them in truck sometimes, or just to keep the truck alive from, let's say you don't want it to be shot. I mean, sorry, you're worried it's going to be shot and you want anything elite inside of it, put some Grats in it, run up the field, start playing with OC and having a bunch of bodies. Next is mass OC objective denial. I'm actually going to show you this with a couple pictures, and I'm going to tie that into the last point, which is wrap and trap enemy elites. So some people that are experienced and intermediates, you know what it means to wrap and trap. But I want to actually show people a bit of this mass OC objective denial and maybe a little trick for you guys that are used to these 1-inch screening from walls. So here I have a 22 man size unit of Grats in this objective behind this terrain. Here's my little red arrow. Here are my Waaaghtaktiks dice. And here I have 3 eradicators. I chose eradicators for several reasons for this example. One, they're a unit that's likely to come off the battlefield edge to be in this little corner of the field. 2, they're likely to want to be shot but not be worried about being killed by the enemy unit, yet they're not really that easy for something like, let's say, a unit of boys to run up and straight up kill. So how am I actually going to pull this? Now, for this example, I'm using a 22 man size unit of Grats, but you could use this example with an 11 man size unit of Grats as well, just so you know. So it doesn't need to be a big size unit. As you can see in this example as well, I have 2 assault intercessors on the objective, showing that I need more than simply 1 Grat to get on that objective. So let's say I have 2 or at least 3 of them. Let's say benefit of the doubt, there's 3 assault intercessors on this objective. I have 6 OC on this objective. I simply can't bank on a 4-inch advance or a 5-inch advance here to get enough Grats into this objective. How can I actually deny this objective and actually hold up this eradicator squad? That's what we're going to do right now. So even if this is a 10-man unit, this works. So simply here with that widget I'm showing you, this is roughly 6 inches. Of course, you have to move through that wall, so that'd be a 7-inch movement. So that's why I put the red marker there, the little red bean there, and the 6-inch widget, so you can see roughly the Grats are going to move that far if I'm not even advancing. They'll be a little further than that. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm doing these examples for the first time, but give me the benefit of the doubt. It's a 6-inch move. Now I'll show you the next example. Boom. So the guys have now moved 6 inches, and you can see I actually put them further back than I have on that objective. You can use the railroad marker to show that out. But the Grats have moved out 6 inches, and those little red markers that I have now put on the picture are actually where I'm looking to have my Grat bases end up. You can see with my ruler that I'm roughly 4 to 5 inches away from these eradicator for a 4 to 5 inch charge. Now, Grats being less than 1 inch means that even if someone decides, hey, I'm going to be 1 inch away from the wall so that your 32 mil base of your runt herder, your knob, your boys, whatever, can't fit within this wall to fight me, therefore you can't fight me, that's how people are denying you. Well, guess what? Grats can actually bypass that rule. Not bypass that rule, but bypass that trick, because Grats can get within that 1 inch as they're actually smaller enough to still get within combat range of this unit and fit within that gap of the wall. So when I'm measuring this out, I'm not measuring going around like I would if, let's say, I had a unit of boys. I'm taking these Grats and I'm actually planning to charge these eradicators, as they cannot kill an 11-man unit, let alone 22-man unit of Grats. Therefore, I'm actually using the charge to get more movement so that I can not only end up on the closer to the objective, but closer to these eradicators. That way they can't run forward and shoot, or I have to worry about them having to fall back and shoot, lessening the angles of fire that they're going to use. Maybe they're not going to be able to advance and shoot anymore, stuff like that. Maybe I can put a bunch of bodies in the way so they can't fall forward. That way they can get closer to other units because they have short range. So that's what I'll do in the next picture. But where that green circle is where I want to put my runt herder. All right. So I'm putting him there because if I lose bodies, then when I start to pull bodies, I can leave him hidden from line of sight from shooting, and possibly keeping those eradicators still in combat if they haven't fallen back. Right. And therefore I can keep him alive. So now I've actually moved on and done the charge. You can see I simply rolled a 6-inch in charge. And right here at the top, I actually put the note: charge 6 inches, pile in 3, as long as you end closer to the enemy unit. So now that I've rolled my 6-inch charge, my grots have ended up there. Other grots couldn't fit anywhere else there once I rolled my 6-inch. Everybody went as far as they could go, right? And that's why I intentionally, guys, leave space between my grots, because I want to stop another base from getting there. Why is that? Because if I can't base the base anymore or be in combat with this unit any further with my charge movement, which is 6 inches as I rolled here, then the unit simply has to move 6 inches and as close as possible to the enemy unit from where they started. Then I will pile in 3 inches closer to the enemy unit, and doing both of those will allow me to pretty much wiggle out 9 inches of movement and end up getting at least 3 of those grots onto the objective and denying the enemy primary for the following turn. Not only have I denied the enemy primary on this objective, not only have I but touched this unit of Eradicators, if it was a different unit that can't fall back and shoot, it's even more valuable. This still works on transports. This works on other units that don't want, any other kind of shooting plans for it, any kind of shooting unit that can't punch you away, you can start moving them and swinging them into that as well, right? This works too if you want to get them into combat with you, but you couldn't reach them in a charge. You can still swing in that similar direction and end up closer to them. These are higher level moves, easier to show if I have a video and stuff, but we look to do that in our higher tiers when we do unlock that. But that is how you would steal objectives and touch enemy units that want to fall back and shoot you, right? If you were to wrap them, you would simply surround the whole entire enemy unit. That's easier said than done, but that's another way you can do that. And that's it for my grots. Now I want to talk about the Stormboys. So the Stormboys are one of those units that people typically always see on every single list, yet don't understand and sometimes just straight up let die. So let's talk a little bit about Stormboys and how maybe you can use them a little bit more and diversely in your list. So if you're new, I recommend you buying 1 to 2 units of these, simply keeping them as 5-man units. You don't want to make them 10. They're easy to get shot. They're easy to die to Overwatch. They're very soft. They don't hit it hard enough. Keep them as 5-man units. Next is, you do not need to always deep strike your Stormboys. I promise you that, especially in this new, meta of doing secondaries where you actually want to be maybe within terrain. Maybe you want to do a sabotage. Maybe you want to be an objective and do a cleanse. Maybe you want to do a secure no man's land. So you want to edge up on an enemy objective, as you can see also that in the bottom of my points. These are things that you actually want to be on the table for, right? Also, if you're doing a melee pressure matchup, if you're playing against another army, whether it's a Mirror Orc matchup, whether it's a World Eater army, if it's a combat army, if it's a Dreadnought, monsters, whatever it may be, if you can see potential to move block enemies with your Stormboys, you keep your Stormboys units on the table, right? So you keep 1 of them on the table or 2, whatever it may be. I always advise you have 2 on your list. Therefore, I'm going to say put 1 into Deep Strike and 1 into your table. Right. Therefore, you can actually get within range to screen enemy combats, and that's actually a great value in your Stormboys as they can get in the way. Next is grenade keyword. So let's say you're playing, I don't know, Dread Mob, and you're actually shooting things and you're taking enemies down and trying to finish them off. If your Stormboys within range to throw a grenade, hey, you might be able to finish someone off with a grenade. It's a good way to help finish off Dreadnoughts. So say you have Redemptor Dreadnought you have to finish off and you want to get close enough. Your Beast Boss unit doesn't have grenades. Therefore, maybe your Stormboys get close enough, throw a grenade at Redemptor Dreadnought, Beast Boss runs in. Maybe it finishes them off after he only has a couple wounds left, for example. So being within range of enemy units that are either hurt, dwindled, trying to screen you, and simply having the grenade keyword on hand without having to waste an advance, because now you can't throw a grenade in advance. Therefore, getting grenades in positions you really want is a little harder to beat, right? Especially if your Stormboys are still alive and a couple of them are alive and not all of them are dead. 1 or 2 Stormboys can't go fight, but they can throw a grenade for you. So don't sleep on the grenade keyword from the Stormboys. Next is advance and charge all game. Now, I already said they don't punch hard and they're not really durable. Therefore, what do I want you to do with this? If you're punching something that's really squishy, T3 below, whatever, sure, go ahead and run that down. If it's an Eldar unit, that's always fun to do. But what you really want to do here is charge enemy units that actually have shooting and want to, let's see, stage behind terrain. So if there's an enemy repulsor hiding behind a terrain piece and he wants to overwatch you, simply stage behind the enemy terrain, charge that 6 inches so you can run through, tag the enemy repulsor. Sure, he can fall back and shoot, but you might be able to stop what lanes he can end up in. And if it's not the turn that the enemy wants to fall back and shoot, that could be an issue, right? And I only use an enemy impulse here because it's the easiest thing to come off top of my Space Marines, but some armies simply don't have that. If you can do it to Tau, if you could do it to Astra Militarum, if you could do it to Leagues of Voltan, well, I guess they can do it for 1 CP, but then you're making them use 1 CP. If you're doing it to Necrons, if you can run up and touch a Necron vehicle unit in Hypercrib, if you can run up and do that, then maybe you could stop it from also falling back. So being able to run up and touch things from stopping them from shooting, or to fill up a lane, right? If you just touch it with your Stormboys and stop it from moving, direction of your model, make them fall back that direction because they can't press your models, that's a big deal. And last but not least, like I hinted to already, was staging for secondary. So staging near the center so you can do actions in the center. Like I mentioned earlier, being near the battlefield edges by just deploying in safe places near the battlefield edges so you can do those secondaries, or anything where you can just simply move 12 into the center line of the actual battlefield so you can do Locust, Sabotage, Cleanse, Area Denial, Secure No Man's Land, and several more. Now, there are objectives that do want you to do it in the backfield, but just remember, most enemies are screening, right? We're in an age where people have 3-inch deep strike. We have hypercrypt everywhere, uppy downy demons, upper downy gray knights. People just don't want to play the movement phase anymore. It's too hard. It's too technical. It takes too much time. Just kidding. But that being said, because people have all of these capabilities, it's inherent that people will have denying 12-inch auras, or they'll have enough screening in their backfield. So Stormboys can't simply run and kill something on their home field objective. Therefore, if it's not, let's say, a hot dog deployment, right, Dawn of War style deployment, chances are Stormboys aren't getting into an enemy deployment zone. So keep that in mind. Not always need to be in your deep strike. Sometimes they can just be on the table. Now, last but certainly not least, we have the basic mech. So tips and tricks to get a little bit more DACA. Now, we're going to take advantage of loan up. Why do I want you to take advantage of loan up, and how? Well, let's say you have a battle wagon, a truck, sitting behind one of your L-shaped pieces of terrain, and they're actually staged up, pressed right up into that piece of terrain. You disembark 3, you stay within 3 of that transport, that truck. You have loan op, you can't be targeted. So if you're going against a shooting army and you want to stand on an objective but not actually get shot, you can stay within 3 of a vehicle and activate your loan op. This will allow you, maybe you want to do cleanse on that objective, you just want to hold it, whatever it may be. You can end up scoring with your individual solo mech. Next, you have disembark when coming from reserve. So let's say you want to do something like a DACA truck, right? What a DACA wagon. You want to put, let's say, 10 flash kits or 10 Ludas with a shock attack gun into a truck, and you want to take advantage of the firing deck. Well, you can put that truck into reserves. And when you pull that truck off the side of the table, because the truck is soft and you're scared of it getting blown up at your local game store, that truck can allow the mech to disembark from the truck, even though it's the end of the movement phase, right? So the mech will disembark, still be within range of the truck so he can't get shot. He'll give the truck +1 to hit, and the truck will use all the occupants' weapons at +1 to hit, allowing you to have a nice, safe firing platform. And you can end up doing what I just said earlier with now having that truck tag along with that mech and run around doing secondaries while those flash kits, those Ludas get out later in the game. You have this now scoring combination of trying to deny getting shot unit running around the field. Next is you can also disembark. So you can simply move the truck ahead, not advance it, but you can simply move the truck ahead, give the truck +1 to hit, and that would actually allow the truck to do a similar thing and give the occupants all +1 to hit. This helps with just firing lanes in general. Next is give Titanics +1 to heal. Now, of course, this works on your Def Dreads. A lot of people know you're going to give the Def Dread +1 to hit. It only works on an individual model, not a unit, so it doesn't work for your kill cam, wouldn't work for your mech guns, right? But for an individual model, it does. But I like it the most on Titanic. Of course, the Stampa is a beautiful thing. But I'm specifically talking about a Morkanaut and Gorkanaut. Why? Well, giving the Titanic +1 to hit offsets its bracketing, right? So of course you're going to heal it, but that's if you can actually heal it enough to get over the bracket of it's less than 10 wounds for a Morkanaut Gorkanaut. But if you pay attention to the Morkanaut and Gorkanaut's actual wall ability, it gives them +1 to hit. Well, why would that matter? Well, it matters because a lot of those times those guys are taking damage before they want to, or they're a little bit hurt before, and they want to continue momentum, and you can't heal them over the bracket point. Well, the Morkanaut and the Gorkanaut giving themselves +1 to hit means that when that Gorkanaut decides he's going to run in and fight with only 5 wounds left, and your mech runs up, tags +1 to hit, press that button again, right? Now this Gorkanaut is still hitting on a 2+ with simply 5 wounds left over, right? Because now you've offset his bracketing and you're still giving him +1 to hit. That's a big deal if you want to continue momentum with these units. And like I said, with the Morkanaut, that will at least still be allowed to shoot, like I said, for +1, +2. So he'll still be hitting on 4s after being bracketed. That means they last twice as long as they would if you didn't have the mech. That's actually really how it goes. And last but not least, you can give the boys the button. So a lot of time I hear about this. You can do Smoky Gubbins on Dread Mob. You can give the boys the button. If you force it, I've done this. I've rolled it out and ended up killing 6 amount boys. You know, boys are really meant to beat speed bumps, so you really don't want to give it away. You just got to be willing to press the button and to let it ride out, my boys. So of course you can do the mech. So with that being said, you guys, this was a short one, but something I really wanted to cover, as these 3 units are constantly slept on. People are not using Grats or Stormboys well enough. They always just leave them standing in places for the whole game and then get them shot away. So hopefully this video helps with that, with the tips and tricks with these units that you can use properly. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Shout out to the Rewatch Gang. Shout out to our paint competition, and check us out on our Discord. Thank you, Tyler Hose, for the membership, because we want to bring more videos like this, tactical videos with more examples where you can actually, actually buy the proper program so we can do proper editing on these and set this stuff up. So if you enjoy that, leave a like, leave a subscribe. Thank you for supporting. Check out our dice in the description. And of course, there's always one thing to keep in mind is don't cross the wall, because we not get to eval. Whoa!